Hiya, everyone. Welcome to the Your Human Design Coach podcast. My name is Ashley Watkins. So excited to be here with you today. This is episode number 2. As I mentioned last time, my plan is to start every episode with a quote. So I want to do that now. She planted 3 seeds over and over again that changed her life. I am enough. And that comes from Jaya John. I have this big note in my phone with all these quotes, and I don't usually write down who said them. So if I give you a quote and it doesn't have an attribution, I'm not trying to take credit. I just didn't really plan to use them in this way, but I love the idea of doing that. Today we are going to jump in together into some human design virtual coaching. So one of the types of episodes I want to offer is allowing someone to write in a question that they would like me to kind of explore, coach them through, looking through the lens of their human design. And so no one will be joining me. This will be just a solo episode, but hopefully eventually we'll have some guests here. Going to share their question, highlight some places in their design. If you are watching this on my YouTube channel, I will put their chart up so you can kind of see that, but not strictly necessary. So if you're just listening, it's no problem. Okay, today's question comes from Kay. She says, Ashley, I am in a career that requires me giving advice to others. I love what I do, but sometimes I struggle with the thoughts, who am I to be telling others what they should do? Why would people listen to me? How can I get through these moments of self-doubt? Wow, what a relatable question. Whether you give advice professionally or you are just a person living in the world who has a kid, a spouse, a friend, anyone who's ever said, what do you think? We all can see that thing of we know exactly what they should do. And then we get in the similar situation. We're like, man, that's great advice. How come I can't take that? No, but I really appreciate this question. So thank you, Kay. So Kay's type is manifesting generator, and the strategy, so kind of the big 3 in human design: type, strategy, authority. Want to cover that first. As all manifesting generators do, the strategy is wait to respond. And then the authority, her authority associated with this type and strategy is emotional. So what that means is that Kay is a energetic. When she's doing what she loves, she's lit up, she has energy. She can go quickly, maybe kind of, switch lanes sometimes when her interests change. And that's, what we kind of expect from manifesting generators a lot of the time. She's meant to kind of wait for things to show up in her life. I mentioned this strategy last time. It's mine as well, since I have a generator type. And waiting for things to show up in her life and then to respond with a yes or no. She sort of has that gut instinct or, kind of initial thought. And then the emotional authority is all about kind of sleeping on it. So taking the time to get to a calm clarity before making decisions on those opportunities that may have sparked her interest, whether that's a yes or a no. So if you look at Kay's chart, you're going to see all those shapes. Most of them are colored in. There's a couple that are white. And really what this question brought to mind for me is that little triangle we see down towards our right when we're looking at it, which is the open will center. I'm kind of changing my language around this. It's also referred to as the open ego center. And, I have worked with teachers who have helped me kind of understand, we think of ego as like our, sense of self, or maybe inflated sense of self, or like being something kind of maybe possibly negative. It has some connotations. But, the ego, as a teacher that I love, her name is Brie Melanson, she says, the ego is your amigo. So it is good. It's a good thing. It's just when we try to create and kind of live from it that it can kind of get us in trouble. But just due to that kind of connotation, I'm trying to play with the language of the open will center, which it's also known as. So either way, same thing. If someone has this open will center, it may indicate that they sometimes feel a vacillating sense of self-worth, possibly a vacillating sense of motivation as well. But in the light of this question, kind of want to explore that self-worth or value piece. So any centers that you have open on your chart, so anywhere on your chart where you see white in those shapes, there are no good or bad charts. Someone could have all white, they could have all things colored in. It's no good or bad. Everyone has the whole chart. But where we see those white centers, that's kind of an indication of places where we may have lessons to learn in this life. And it also generally is where we feel our conditioning most strongly. So we all have conditioning, whether that's from our childhood, the way we've gone through life, even what's going on with the planets and the sun right now affects our conditioning. So no one is immune from conditioning. It's part of what makes, this life so beautiful is you could set two people side by side who have the same human design chart and their conditioning is going to make them show up differently. And we need that. We need all that difference. Where she says she struggles with thoughts, who am I to be telling others what they should do? Why would people listen to me? Something to be aware of when you have an open center is that you may be amplifying others' sense of their own value. So what you're feeling may not even be yours, especially thinking about a career where you're giving advice to people who are looking for direction, who may be feeling their own sense of what is my self-worth and what is my value. So that's something to be aware of, that there is that piece of the open ego that is that naturally, and then also that we are amplifying the people that are around us. And so every open and defined center has what's called a shadow side and a wisdom side. So these are going to be places where, the shadow side is kind of those lessons to learn. The wisdom is when we're really kind of living in alignment with our design and we're taking steps to understand ourselves better and really kind of questioning and doing the things that we need to do to step into our own power as it may be. So the shadow side of the open will center is that feeling of insecurity, possibly overcompensating, possibly feeling they have something to prove in their relationships. If I can just give the best advice, this person will know that I am great at what I do. If I can just do, this act of service for my partner, they will know what a good partner I am. And then there's some comparison. I think we're all subject to that, but it can feel strong. And since we're all subject to it, those with the open will center may feel that even more intensely. And then the wisdom of the open will center, understanding that they have nothing to prove. In fact, those with the open will center are here in their wisdom to help us all understand our innate value. There's a quote that I want to share from Robin Wynn. She is a human design teacher that I really love. And she writes a lot about kind of coaching through this lens. And when she talks about the open will center, she says, as you're going through your kind of deconditioning, as you are moving to get more in alignment, moving from shadow to wisdom, she says, the shockingly simple truth is revealed. There is nothing you can do to diminish your value, nor to increase your value. Think about it this way. An orchid doesn't have more inherent value than a daffodil. It's simply not possible. Your existence on this planet is your value. So I really love that. I think that's something for those with the open will center to hear and maybe write down. So in a coaching session with me, depending on how we've worked together, I'm may be giving you this information for the first time, or we may be just doing a refresher. And then there's always room for inquiry. And questions are going to arise in coaching based on what the client says. So it's not so formulaic, but just some questions that I would ask in this instance, and then obviously would build based on responses. But some things, if you're listening at home and maybe you have the Open Will Center and this resonates, for you to reflect on and think about. So, the big one for the Open Will Center, where in your life are you trying to prove yourself? Does it feel like those are the right places for you? Where in your life are you undervaluing yourself? What would it feel like to stand tall in your worth? And something I would say too about the Open Will Center is that, you know, there is a need for rest that comes along with this. So the sense of motivation and energy can kind of shift and change with those with this open center. A lot of times we think about those who have the projector type as being, or manifestor, maybe they need more rest. But I have yet to see a chart where there is not baked in it a need for rest. And so that might be something to think about too, is what does your routine of rest and recharging look like after a session where you may come out questioning your value, or what you have, if you're feeling that you have something to prove. How are you kind of honoring that need to recharge and get ready before going on to the next session, if at all possible? Another thing I want to highlight on Kay's chart is one of the channels that she has. So you'll see on the bottom right, again, as you're facing it, there's that square. That is the root center. So at the very bottom, and then it connects to that triangle on the right. That's the emotional center. And so where it connects is called the depth channel. It's the 3955. And this is anything that comes from the emotional center can kind of give us some guidance about, you know, this is the importance of the wait for clarity authority, of waiting until you feel that kind of calm clarity. It means riding those emotional waves. So this channel can indicate that you may have high highs and low lows, honoring those whenever possible, doing things when you're in the mood, and just knowing that how you feel in kind of the lows, it may, just take some time to get yourself kind of centered again before you really hold on to those judgments you're making. So when we talk about decisions and waiting for clarity, the decision to accept our own innate value is kind of one we have to make over and over again. I know I do. And so if you know sometimes you're going to feel lower and you start questioning, what might be a way to give yourself space to just sort of feel that without holding on to it so tightly. And then the last place I would highlight as far as the chart before we kind of move into thinking about, you know, when we talk about alignment and kind of moving from shadow to wisdom and some things to do there, would be that authority piece. As we just kind of mentioned, your authority lets you know. So, what does calm clarity feel like for you? And then how can you apply that to this question that you've brought here today? Does it feel like calm clarity when you're asking yourself, who am I to be telling others what they should do and why would people listen to me? And so, what happens when you let your decisions about yourself be guided by your authority rather than, any need to prove? So fun. Um, I feel like the gals from SNL, the um, sweaty balls people. It's really fun. But it is fun. Okay. So here we've kind of done some exploration, and this is what a coaching session, once we get through kind of the initial, here's the chart, here's kind of the big pieces of it, get into, kind of more knowledge building. Then you coach around those pieces. So we're kind of doing a mix of both, giving you some knowledge and also some coaching here today. But we always want to move into, what is the supportive action you can take this week to, if the goal is to have a deeper sense that your self-worth is innate, that your value is innate, that you have nothing to prove. What are some actions that may support that? And this would be a place where, you really want the client to design these with you, but some thoughts in light of the design. The first would be awareness and reflection. So it's kind of goes back to that question about what does calm clarity feel like? Where in your life are you trying to prove yourself is just a great kind of question. Or what does it feel like when you're not trying to prove yourself? And then just taking some time to reflect, however that looks like for you, if that's journaling or voice notes or whatever that may be. And then I think self compassion is a big one. Kristen Neff, she writes great books and does a lot of teaching and research around self compassion. But the heart of self compassion is to remind yourself that your worth is not tied to your achievements or others' perceptions. With the open will center, you are not designed to prove your value. If we believe that we are all here to show up as ourselves, and by doing so, we can change the world, who you are is enough. And it doesn't mean you don't try to grow and be a good person and live by your values and all these things, but just what's driving you. Is it love? Is it a sense of purpose? Is it value? Is it your authority rather than the need to prove? And then again, through the lens of the Open Will Center, taking some time to evaluate, maybe take an inventory of where are the environments you're regularly in? Who are the people you're regularly around? Um, if we know that we amplify others' sort of vacillating sense of self-worth or them questioning their own value, what do the people look like or the places look like where you feel your best, where you feel more of that calm clarity? And how can you have more of that? How can you, just get yourself into those states and then rest, recharge? In this case, I think I would ask, what is your routine between clients? And is there anything maybe that needs to be fortified there? Going back to our initial question, Kay wrote in and said that she's in a career that requires her giving advice to others. She loves what she does, but sometimes struggles with the thoughts, who am I to be telling others what they should do? Why would people listen to me? How can I get through these moments of self-doubt? So the heart of it is understanding, I think, something that human design has empowered me in so much is the way we can amplify the energy of others in both good ways and also in those ways that may make us feel things that aren't really ours. I have an open emotional center. It makes me feel really emotional to think about what it meant to learn this about myself. I was told a lot that I was too sensitive or felt like I was too sensitive. And knowing that I'm not just having my own feelings, but picking up others, it's really helped me to learn to ground myself more and also just to not take things personally and to not take things on that aren't mine. I do a lot of work with other people. And so I don't know about any of you, if anyone out there can relate, but I was such a person that let me hang out with a group of people or even just one person on the way home and be like, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, did they think I'm ridiculous because I did this? Oh, did that land? Oh, I should have said this. And that has not gone away 100%. And I won't pretend like it has, but knowing this kind of emotional, this open centerpiece has really helped me again to root and ground in what is mine and leave the rest. And I find that most of those feelings and questions are not mine. They're not mine to carry. And that's really freeing. I would love to hear from you. If this has been interesting to you and you'd like to write in, please send me a question, ashleywatkinscoaching@gmail.com. I'll just need your birth information. So birth, place, time, date. Let's do those backwards. Birth, date, time, place is probably the more common way to think of it. And then I can generate your chart. If I already know you, I have your chart. So just send me your questions. And, it can be about anything. I would say career, relationships, self care, the things I see the most, but I'd love to hear some wild ones. Give me some good ones. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. As always, appreciate any feedback that you have, and we will see you next time. Take care.